Hello and welcome back to Off-Field Antics. We've not recorded one of these in quite some time, probably a couple of months now, and that's because the football season has drawn to a close and there has been lots of news transfer-wise to talk about, but there's nothing kind of directly that we've been able to talk about. We were thinking about doing a season review, but so many people did those. It probably would have been boring and probably not many of you would have watched, but we are back with some big news. About 2 days ago now, it was announced that Lionel Messi wants to leave Barcelona. He's handed in a transfer request at Barcelona, and it looks as if he's finally going to leave. I thought, personally, he was going to be a one-club man. He would be there for the entire career, but he's at 33 years old now, and he's decided that after losing 8-2 to Bayern Munich, crashing out the Champions League, losing out on a La Liga title to Real Madrid, and they're now in a period of a rebuild. His best mate Suarez is probably leaving. He's decided, right, that's it. I've had enough, and I want to have a new challenge, and I want to win a trophy elsewhere. So, first of all, Danny, what are your initial thoughts on Messi wanting to leave?
Well, similar to you, I thought he'd be a one-club man his whole career, like Francesco Totti at Roma, for example. So, yeah, massive shock that a player who's been at Barcelona since he was an academy graduate is going to be leaving the club, And this is, of course, not just any old player. This is Lionel Messi, quite possibly the best ever of all time in football. Of course, certainly was once the best in the world. Probably, would you say he's the best in the world anymore?
I think at the moment it's probably Robert Lewandowski, but he's not far off.
Yes, I'd agree, yeah. But yes, obviously, his ability is, by many, still unmatched. And yes, for him to suddenly be leaving Barcelona, the club where he spent his whole career, is a massive, massive shock, which of course poses the question as where he will end up next. Obviously, there's a lot of rumours circulating in the world of football because when such news like this breaks, the whole football media comes in and just delves into it and see where he's going to go. Personally, I would like to see him end up in England, just so me and you can see him play. Of course, he is well past his prime ability right now at his age of, what is it? Is he 33?
33, yeah.
33, yeah. But still, his God-given gift still remains. You never lose that. And so just to see him in the Premier League would be fantastic. Of course, that being said, there are no crowds at the moment, but even so, I still think it would be fantastic. With that being said, it actually seems probably quite likely that he will come here from what I've been reading. Manchester City seem to be having a keen interest in acquiring him. I don't know if you've heard these rumours, Charlie, but
yeah, it's been all over the news that they're into signing him. They're interested. I think everyone in world football would like to sign Lionel Messi, but it's a question of who can actually afford his wages. It's come out this week that he's on about £1 million a week, like £990,000.
It's ridiculous how much money he's on a week.
Wage. Yeah, so I think I've read that he's willing to take a slight pay cut, but a slight pay cut still makes him very inaffordable
what is a slight
99.9% of clubs on the planet. So it's probably, we're talking about the likes of Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain, and that's probably about it. Maybe Manchester United. They Tom Brady, they signed the owners, the Glazers. I think I don't know this too well, but basically they signed Tom Brady for an American club. Is it NFL?
Yeah, it's NFL.
It is NFL. Yeah. I don't know my NFL, but this is something I read earlier this week. The Glazers, who own Man United, own an NFL team. They signed Tom Brady. Tom Brady is basically equivalent of Lionel Messi in that sport. And they weren't expected to sign him, but the Glazers wanted to bring him there because he's a superstar. And the commercial success they've had from that is unbelievable. So we could see that happen again. The Glazers might want to bring him to Manchester United. One, for the player he is, best player of all time probably, and one of the best players in the world at the moment. Maybe that could be part of the rebuild project of Manchester United. They've missed out on Jadon Sancho, but are they going to really refuse to pay 120 million for Sancho and then sign Messi for ridiculous amount of money?
Of course, there would be no transfer fee because he supposedly would be leaving on a free. But obviously, the wages itself is still astronomical. And obviously, as you say, like a $1 million a week base wage, that doesn't include all the sponsorships, the bonuses he gets. It all adds up. I watched the video the other day. I can't remember the figures off the top of my head, but they were unbelievable in just bonuses and sponsorships and payments for any other particular reason that I can't really remember. But the money that he's on is otherworldly.
Yeah, it's about, if you work it out, after he's had his bonuses at Barcelona, he gets about 20, 25 million a year just for loyalty fees. Then you've got all your match appearances, your goal bonuses, your bonuses for winning various trophies. Obviously, they didn't really win anything this year, but in past years, just think about it. If they won like the treble, and he also gets his loyalty bonus and his base wage, 52 times a million is 52 million in itself, plus the 20 million of loyalty, plus all the other bonuses. You're probably looking at 90, maybe even £100 million a year. So although it's a free transfer, it's not a free transfer. It's a ridiculous amount of money. But they could probably make a similar amount of merchandise alone,
well, that's
especially
the thing,
if it's a big
because
club like Man United.
in bringing him in, of course, you're going to be making money off all the revenue that he brings in terms of shirt sales. And of course, you would normally say ticket sales because people want to go and see him, but of course, that's not applicable at the moment. But in normal times, yes, you make some of your money back on a lot of revenue, as I mentioned. But it's just, with his age, of course, how many years you're going to get out of him is an interesting prospect as well. Because, of course, compared to, say, Cristiano Ronaldo, his fitness probably... of course, no one really compares to Ronaldo in terms of fitness. But, he's 33. He's not exactly at the peak of his powers anymore. He will be retiring, you'd think, in the next few years or so. So it's just, which sort of a club would want to take him on? Yes, pay those massive wages for maybe, 2 to 3 more years of...
Yeah, it feels almost a year
playing.
or two too late, doesn't it? It feels like if he was going to make this move, he should have done this about 2 years ago when he was still 31, still had probably a 5-year deal left in him. But now, as you say, he's probably got, I reckon, 3 more seasons at the top level. By then, he'll be almost 37 years old. And he's always said he wants to go back to Newell's Old Boys, wants to go back in Argentina. He's never played properly in the top division of Argentine football. So I think that's probably what he'll do in a few years down the line. So whatever club signs him, they need to accept he's not going to be there for 5-6 years.
No,
he's probably going to get 3 max.
You're going to get 2 or 3 at the most, yeah.
Exactly. But I don't want to see him go off to the MLS. I don't want to see him go off to Argentina just yet, because this is the best player of all time. If suddenly his last game we see of him in Europe's top 5 leagues is an 8-2 thrashing to Bayern Munich, can you just imagine? Surely it can't end like that. That is massively disappointing. But one of the things that's been talked about is his free clause in his contract. Basically, Messi can leave for free at the end of every season. That's a clause in his contract. Barcelona is so confident that he will stay every year and he wants to stay. It's got to the point where he's had enough and he wants to go. But the question is now, because the season was extended because of coronavirus, is that clause still active? Barcelona are claiming it's not, because we've gone past like June 30th, which is normally your kind of contract end and end of season contract. We're now in August, even though the other season's just ended and the new one's about to start. It's kind of like it's probably not even in the bylaws of his contract. It's so confusing. And
yes, with everything that's happening in the football world, it is mad.
And you don't want to see Messi in Barcelona. You don't want to see that relationship go to shit.
Yeah, after all the success they've had together, it's been it's been a brilliant relationship just to watch, of course. But yeah, as you say, if that was to come to an end in a bad way, it would put a massive downer on it and a dampener on it all, especially after, as I say, all they've achieved together. You'd like it to be, a nice resolution to this whole uproar of what's going on in the transfer world. Hence why, I think Barcelona should just accept that he doesn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah. It's hard to do that, though, when he's the other clause in his contract, one's for going for free, which it's so difficult to kind of predict who's going to win that battle, because it's almost a war now between Messi saying, no, this clause is still active, we've just entered the season, I want to go, and Barcelona saying, no, it's not, because we're now in August, kind of thing. You don't want to end like that. But the thing about it, the other clause in his contract is a 700 million euro release clause.
Is that
700 million? That's nearly 4 times what was paid for Neymar, 3 times what paid for Neymar. Correct. It's an outrageous amount of money. No one is going to pay that for a 33-year-old. So basically, it all comes down to...
out of your mind.
Exactly. It all comes down to whether that free clause is going to be active
still
or not.
active,
and
yes.
It might go to court, and that's the thing that really worries me, because we don't want to see this journey come to an end in a court scene, in a battle in court.
I would look at that is in the sense that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, say in a lot of Premier League clubs, those who are on loan, for example, at Newcastle, I know that Danny Rose was on loan from Tottenham to Newcastle, and his contract got extended because of the season going on. So technically that means that the season, like all the games and that, I'm not entirely sure how to word this, but the contracts did go on until the end of the actual season, not just the end of when it should have been back in May and June, technically, June the 30th, which means that you would think this clause would still apply, because if that gets extended because of how the season had to get extended as well.
Yeah.
Of course, Barcelona are well within their right to try and claim that this is no, because June the 30th is the normal cut-off, but I think that it would be more in favour of Lionel leaving because of like how other footballers have dealt with it in terms of extending contracts just to play out the rest of the season.
But another thing you've got to keep in mind as well is Messi's got one more year left on his deal. So it runs out June 30th next year. So if Barcelona are going to risk this, they could lose him for free anyway next summer. Obviously, at that point, he's less appealing. He's 34. He probably only got 1 or 2 seasons left him at that point. So Barcelona have got to think maybe if they come out the winners in this legal battle.
Are they really the winners, though? That's the thing.
No, probably not, because then they're going to be looked down upon by so many people worldwide. Everyone's on Messi's side. Obviously, you've got Barcelona fans. I think even they're on Messi's side. They're like, this guy has been with us for almost 2 decades. He's been the best player we've ever had by far. Probably the best player in football history. We can't let him go this way. But obviously, the Barcelona owners and president, they're not going to see it that way because there's 700 million euros at stake. So it's such a difficult balance between a commodity in Messi and the man and the player and the legend. And it's so difficult to find that balance. One thing that could happen if, say, Barcelona do win this battle and it goes to a battle and a war and they come out the winners and the clause for a free is not active, do they then say to Messi, right, okay, well, we'll scrap the 700 million release clause, or maybe not scrap it, but we'll accept a bid of 200 million. If any club comes in for you for 200 million, fair enough. Thank you very much for your time here, Lionel. You can head off somewhere else. It's such an interesting story, and I think we're going to be seeing this across the rest of the summer because the transfer window ends at the start of October. So
exactly, we've still got
plenty
of time.
A long way to go yet.
Exactly. As you say there, though, 200 million,
it's a lot.
That's Neymar money.
Plus 100 million, arguably a year on contract as well.
Exactly. So you got to think I don't think any club would pay that. Not for
PSG, I think, are the only ones. I think with Man City, they're looking at players that are kind of between the ages of 18 and 25. That's what they're kind of building their core on. But Messi's obviously an exception, and that's come out in the news this week that Pep Guardiola obviously wants him at the club. There's people high up at Man City who used to work with Messi at Barcelona. Everything there, it's like a romantic story. It could all come together. Messi wants to go to Man City.
I read somewhere that personal terms have been agreed. I don't know how much truth there is in that.
Yeah, I saw that as well. It's the same guy who reported that Neymar was going to PSG. The first guy who reported that Messi wanted to leave in the first place. So there's probably quite a lot of accuracy in that. Whether
you'd think so,
agreed or not, but it's definitely promising in terms of I think we can both be in agreement. We want to see him in the Premier League. I don't mind what club he goes to. Man City, they will win the league probably for the next 2 years running. I know it's quite naive to say that because Chelsea have made some cracking signings this summer.
Chelsea, I think, are certainly contenders this season. Yes, with the signings they're making, Thiago Silva still to come in, Kai Havertz still to come in as well.
Yeah,
supposedly if those deals get across the line, added on top to the ones they've already got, Ben Chilwell, Timo Werner, etc., etc. They're really stamping themselves, stamping their authority back on the league. Which
I'd argue though that
of course they can, because they didn't make any signings last season with the transfer ban, so they've got the money to spend all of a sudden.
Yeah, and Hazard obviously left for over 100 million quid, so their net spend is actually very low. People are saying, "Oh, they're buying the league." They're not, mate. They're literally spending the money that they've couped from Hazard and Morata and the likes. So their net spend's about 30 million quid. If you look at Man United's and Man City's of the last 5 seasons, I think theirs is like 500 million and Chelsea's is below 100 million. So if you look at it that way, you can't claim they're winning the league. But back to Messi and Man City, I think if he did come, despite all these incredible transfers that Chelsea are putting in, I think with the squad that Man City have already got, which you probably argue is better than Chelsea's even with their new signings, with the addition of Messi, who can play as a false 9 like he did under Guardiola at Barcelona. He can play on the right, he can play through centre, you can probably chuck him on the left. I think that Messi would be unbelievable in the Premier League. People were saying that, is he really going to perform like that? It's more physical in the Premier League.
Could he do it on a cold Tuesday night in Stoke?
On a cold Tuesday night in Stoke?
Even though Stoke aren't in the Premier League, but
they're not. But if they play him in the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup,
exactly, or the FA Cup, yeah.
Need to see.
Could Lionel Messi? Now there's a question for the comments. Could Lionel Messi do it on a cold Tuesday night in Stoke?
I think he could.
Do you think he could?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at people like Maradona, the pitches they used to play on,
this is
horrendous. True. Messi, you've not really seen on pitches like that.
That's the thing. We don't know how they would react.
I'm not saying that the pitches at the Britannia are horrendous and they're like the 80s and the 90s, but it's renowned for its playing conditions not being quite at the elite level. So I think it would be interesting to see Messi perform there, but he's obviously played at pitches that aren't quite up standard in Spain as well. It's obviously just not got the aura around it that Stoke has.
Exactly.
But, moving on to a quick question for you. Moving on to a quick question for you. Firstly, where do you think Messi will end up? And secondly, we kind of touched on it already, but where do you want him to end up club-wise?
I think he will end up where I want him to, and I think that's at Manchester City. Okay. From just all the rumours circulating that I've been reading, in terms of personal agreements, etc., and, links up with Guardiola and other members of staff. Then, of course, with Man City being a club who can potentially afford his wages as well, and being a club who, despite not winning the Champions League this season, are still building towards that. And, of course, that's what he wants, I'm presuming, with Lionel Messi, to win another Champions League. And, of course, a team around him who he can play off. Kevin De Bruyne is there. They've got some fantastic players, Manchester City, as we know. So I think he'd slot well into that squad. And it would probably make them quite the team, unfortunately for us, in the rest of the Premier League.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already a fantastic side, but...
I agree. I think personally, he could actually end up at PSG. And although I don't want to say that, I'm actually wearing a PSG top right now.
You are. I'm
not even that much of a fan of PSG. It's just I really like this kit. Got Mbappe.
I'm not.
We can talk about that's for another podcast.
I'm not a fan of PSG, but that's for geopolitical reasons in the Middle East, which we'll not go into detail about. But anyway,
but the fact that they're basically owned by a country, the fact that they've spent 200 million on Neymar in recent years, 150 odd million on Mbappe, they want to win this Champions League desperately. They just missed out in the final against Bayern Munich. They are one step away.
They were poor.
These owners, this country that owns them, they might think, right, we need one more piece in the puzzle to get us this Champions League trophy we've been desiring for years and years. They've already spent hundreds of millions on it. To them, they're multi-hundred billionaires probably behind that team. Not quite the level of that Newcastle were going to have before the takeover kind of went away, but they have got a ridiculous amount of money. And obviously it's still a lot because Messi's going to cost them hundreds of millions. But I could probably see it being him linking up with his old teammate Neymar, having Mbappe and then Messi. Yes. You can have Neymar on the left, Mbappe on the right, Messi as a false nine. That would be arguably one of the greatest front threes in football history. And it could genuinely happen.
You say that, but I honestly, right, with Neymar, yes, he's a good player, but I don't think he comes anywhere near the top 10 in the world, personally.
I think he's underrated. I think it's just he's hated because the amount of money was spent on him.
No, I think he's overrated, personally. I don't. Oof. I think Neymar's massively overrated. I'm not saying he's a good player, and he has a lot of ability. There's no doubting that. But yes, the price tag, of course, plays into that. But
dribbling-wise, is there anyone other than Messi in world football that can match the level of ability that Neymar has to run at a player, to beat a player?
I mean, yeah, you have a point, but also who has the ability to jump off a 10-metre diving board with the ability that he has as well?
That's one thing I don't like about him, is the fact that every time I watch him, he dives around like a child. It's pathetic.
I know it's only one game, but in the Champions League final, he was poor. So was Mbappe. He was, of course,
Mbappe, though, yeah.
On the back of your
I think
top.
PSG were fairly poor Yeah, Mbappe's on the back on top. I think PSG were fairly poor in the final anyway. Defensively, they played okay. They kept Bayern Munich at bay for
But
an
of
entire
course, you know
half,
that
which a lot of
they're
sides
losing
haven't been able to
they're
do.
losing their backbone of their defence in Thiago Silva off to Chelsea. So, of
Yeah,
course they've got the money to replace him quite easily. But that's another stalwart. He's been at PSG for a good few years now.
yeah.
So, the world of football. Like, I know this is probably quite deep and quite, but the world of football is changing massively. Of course, we know with the pandemic still going on, no fans, etc. It's just, I'm very interested to see, what will happen in the next couple of seasons. Like, obviously, where Messi ends up. Will PSG win a Champions League? Will Man City win a Champions League? There's so much to talk about, of course, and then you've got the Euros next year, which in an odd year. I know this is going off on a bit of a tangent here, and I don't know really where I'm going with it, but at the same time, there's just so much to talk about in football at the moment, and that's why I think, a podcast like this makes so much sense, because it's just good to talk about all these things. And as I say, with today's topic, Lionel Messi leaving Barcelona is massive.
One of the biggest talking points of 2020 as a whole. You've seen him trending on Twitter. Various teams of other sports are saying, should we sign Messi or announce Messi? He doesn't even play basketball. He doesn't play American football, but his team.
He's not a Formula One driver, but Mercedes was still after him. Did you see? Even Liam Gallagher was tweeting about him. Liam Gallagher just put one tweet on saying Messi. Of course, him being a Manchester City supporter, so he might end up getting his wish for Lionel Messi to arrive at the Etihad.
But something to just quickly touch on before we end the podcast, and it's looking at an alternative point of view. There we go, put the words out eventually. It's that Messi could actually stay at Barcelona. Now it's come out that he wants to leave. Doesn't mean he's definitely going. As I say, if Barcelona win this play, then
you're very
probably
true.
Will stay at Barcelona. And another thing you can look at is this a power play from Messi? The only thing that tells me it might not be is something that his ex-teammates have done on Twitter, but I'll get onto that in a moment.
Well, yes, with Puyol, Suarez, etc.
Puyol and Suarez. But basically, it's known that he doesn't like the president, Bartomeu, and he wants him out. And there's presidential elections coming up in March. He wants Bartomeu to leave right now. He doesn't like the appointment. I've heard that he doesn't like the appointment of Ronald Koeman. He wants Xavi, his ex-teammate, to be in charge. He was linked there earlier this year, last year. He's been linked for a while now, and it never actually happened. People thought it was going to happen. It could be a power play, all of this from Messi, to just force Bartomeu out the door and to allow the club to get the right rebuild and to allow them to keep challenging for the remainder of his career. Because at the moment, as it is, Koeman's there for a rebuild. He's getting rid of the old blokes. Vidal's on his way out. Suarez is on his way out. They're going to bring in some younger players. It's obviously very exciting. But Messi wants to win trophies now. He's not got long left.
That's the thing. He's got not long left. That's the thing.
But the only thing that tells me it's probably not a power play is would Suarez on Twitter be in support of Messi and saying kind of the things along the line of best of luck for the future kind of thing, and almost like a goodbye wish to him if that wasn't the case. So I think it will definitely unfold a lot more in the next couple of weeks as to what's probably going to happen.
It's a very interesting one, because you're right with all of that. It's certainly one that needs a bit of analysis, I think, because obviously Lionel Messi is not happy with the way Barcelona is run at the moment. So it is very possible that this is the motive behind what he's doing, but would you really go through all the media attention just to get rid of someone? Because, as I say, even if he does get rid of this president, doesn't guarantee that they're going to win trophies, and he's probably a lot more likely to win trophies at another club that have already got a stable team, as opposed to a team that are still having to rebuild because they're still going to have to rebuild Barcelona, because an 8-2 thrashing off Bayern Munich, a lot of players getting a bit old in that squad, as you mentioned, a few wanting to probably go out the door. So it might be part of the reason, just so then maybe he could leave a bit of a legacy as he moves on, that he changed Barcelona for one last time and then left by getting it how he would like it to be, so that other players, new players coming in, have a future to build on that he's created. He's left that legacy at Barcelona. But as I say, he wants to win trophies now, and that is not just a simple fix like that.
He's not won the Champions League for like 5 years. He wants to win that Champions League again before the
Yeah,
end of his career.
and I
He probably wants to win
don't
another
think he
Ballon
will win that.
d'Or, and he's not going to do that at Barcelona.
He's not going to do that at Barcelona. Not anymore. No, not with the team that they have now. I don't think, at least.
Yeah,
and obviously and for that team to completely change and be trophy capable of winning a trophy again will take at least another 2 or 3 years probably. And in that time, of course, he'll be 35, 36 with probably a year left in him. And in that year, it might happen, it might not happen. Hence why he's probably got a much better chance of winning something if he goes to a team where they're not having to rebuild, say PSG, Man City, where it's already very stable, that they are ready-made Champions League winners now, and of course have just fallen short this season, but could easily do it next season.
Yeah, well, I agree, and I really hope for Messi's sake, for football's sake, for our sake, that he does end up at Man City, because I think that would be such a great story, him reuniting with Guardiola, one of his best mates, Aguero, as well. Some of the board members there that he was working with at Barcelona to come to the Premier League, where everyone said is probably you've got the 2 best leagues in the world kind of known over the last decade or two, and that is the English League and the Spanish League. If he can prove himself in the Premier League as well, in my mind, there is no doubt, apart from maybe the fact he hasn't won a World Cup, that's one thing that you can think about.
That is,
he's not on the international stage. It's the only thing for me that takes him away from the likes of Pele and Maradona.
Yes, because they've both won World Cups.
But if he came to the Premier League and proved himself there, won like a treble, which Man City they've done in recent years, but they've not won the Champions League. If they haven't done a proper treble. If they did a proper treble of the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Champions League with Lionel Messi in that team.
Just add the League Cup in there for the crack as well.
Yeah, for the crack. And the Community Shield. Forget the 4 mid-balls, the 5 mid-balls, mate. Even though it doesn't make sense. That would just be unbelievable. So I really hope that happens. But I think it all just depends on what happens in that contract situation. And, well, we can do another podcast when that becomes a bit more clear. But I think we've had enough said today, haven't we, Danny?
I think so, yeah. Just, as I say, when this story develops, we will chat more about it and, press on, because it'll be certainly a very interesting watch for all of us in the world of football to see how it develops and where, if anywhere, he does end up. As of course, he could end up at the club of the top you're wearing. I've got that the wrong way. The top of the club you're wearing.
Yes.
Wait, is that still the wrong? I don't even know. I think
we know what you're trying to say. We know what you're trying to say.
Of course, speaking of tops, we always do have a little quick conversation just before we finish about what we're wearing. Of course, you're wearing yourself a Paris Saint-Germain top. Any backstory to it?
Basically, I saw that, there's like Nike Vapor kits, and they're not just like the replicas. They're obviously still replicas, but they're like the proper material. Like I wanted to get a kit like that, and I thought, what team at the moment, or what player do I really want that in 10, 15 years I can look back on and be like, that is a cool shirt to own. Like, you're on your E's 15 years ago and you're Ronaldo at Man United or something. Mbappe is the most exciting young player in world football, in my opinion. Sancho probably rivals him, maybe Haaland as well, but I think Mbappe is that player who everyone's going to be talking about and probably going to be the best player in the world in a few years' time. Obviously, his Champions League performance wasn't the best.
But he's I say this, but he's still young, he's still learning.
Exactly. And I thought I'd get this kid.
Of course, he's already won a World Cup, of course.
He's already won the World Cup
which is more than Lionel Messi's won.
Exactly, already, which is kind of insane. He's already won the treble with PSG like twice. And I think once he wins a Champions League there, he'll probably move on to like Real Madrid or something, become a Galactico, and might even go around all the leagues. That's the kind of ambition this guy has. He wants to change teams. He wants to win things in different places and go elsewhere. That's kind of what he's made known. I think he wants to go to Liverpool one day, but they can't afford him. But taking it away from this tangent, got this kit because I wanted a cool player on the back, get a proper Vapor kit, and it's really nice to just kind of lounge around it. Not really played in it very much, but that's kind of the backstory to that. Just briefly show you the name on the back.
Give us a twirl, Charlie. Give us a twirl. Oh, yes.
Can you see it? I don't know if you can. But,
we can. Don't worry.
There we go. But yeah, quickly, just before we finish, you've got a Rangers top on, mate.
I do have a Rangers top on. Rangers being my second or third team technically, if you count Gateshead, but whether we count Gateshead or not, it's up for debate. I mean we should do, really, because I've been to a fair few Gateshead matches, etc. But if we're excluding them, Rangers would be my second team. I have family who support them. Of course, after Newcastle, will be my first team. yeah, as I say, I have family who support Rangers, and of course, I always think unless you have some very good reason, if you're British and you don't prefer Rangers over Celtic, it's a bit, yeah.
I much prefer Rangers over Celtic.
Yeah, we won't go into all the political details and all the religious details as to why that are, but
Yeah.
I've always liked Rangers as a club. I've been to Ibrox, not watched the game there unfortunately, but I've been in, and it's a wonderful stadium.
Yeah. Do you think they can challenge Celtic for the league this year? They've started really well.
They have started really well. Of course, Celtic haven't played a couple of games though because they got stopped by Nicola Sturgeon, first manager of Scotland, because of breaking quarantine.
On holiday. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see why not, because that as much as it pains me to say, because the Scottish League once used to be quite a good league, it's not anymore a brilliant league. And there are realistically only two teams that can win the league in Scotland, and they are Rangers and Celtic. Of course, Celtic are going for the 10th in a row this year. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that pressure of getting the 10th in a row will crush
Could be that down. That's the thing, because I honestly think Rangers could take them all the way this year.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that personally. I mean, they weren't exactly far off them last year. I mean, there was still a little bit of a gap, but they weren't far. Of course, you got to remember that Rangers were demoted right through the leagues because of administration and money problems, etc., and had to work their way up back up. And that's the reason why Celtic won all those championships, because Rangers weren't there to challenge them. They literally just had a free run at it. So, yeah, but now Rangers are back and are a decent side again with, Steven Gerrard at the helm, some good players in there. I think they could do it. I'd like to see that, of course, and I think they could do it. Whether that happens or not, we will see. But I'd like to see it. I don't actually know when this top is from. I'm not sure what season it's from, but I just know that it's a Rangers top, and I like it.
I like it too, mate. It's quite basic, but I like a basic kit. So, but on that note, up the Rangers. Let's hope that they can beat Celtic to a title this season.
We are the people, as they say.
Favourite Scottish team.
We are the people. That's what they say.
We are the people.
We are the people. They say that.
We are the people. If you got to this point, if you're a Rangers supporter or not, comment "We are the people."
The people, yes.
We want to know you've reached this point, so do that.
If you're Josh Liston, what can Josh do?
Cry about how bad Arsenal are?
Well, yeah.
Probably.
Josh, tell us, do you...
Josh Liston is. He's our mate who supports Arsenal.
So. Do you think Aubameyang will sign a new contract? Tell us that, Josh.
Yes, Josh, tell us that. Anyway, time to end. It's been a great discussion about Lionel Messi and where he could end up. We'll probably do another podcast the next couple of weeks as things develop. And obviously the Premier League season's not far away.
With the season starting, of course, yes. There'll be plenty to talk about in the coming weeks.
As well, at some
That's
point,
a very good idea, yes, for a podcast, yeah. There's a lot to talk about in the coming weeks, as I say, with season starting. So we'll be keeping busy. We'll be back at least a good few times in the next few weeks, as the season restarts and as this Lionel Messi story develops even further. But, of course, that is the end for today. So thank you all very much for watching. If you've made it this far, well done. As I say, but thank you very much all for watching, and we will see you next time. See you later.
See you later, guys. Cheers.